All right, good evening. We're going to open the October 9th, 2025 Recreation Commission meeting. Welcome to anybody online. I don't know if we have anybody out there, but welcome. We have a few members of the public with us who can use momentarily. We'll do some routine business. Everybody get a copy to look at the minutes from our last meeting. Any
Yes.
questions, comments, concerns?
I suggested the minutes already, just for the capital improvement portion. That looks good.
Okay. Did you hear in the version
Yeah.
we got?
Yeah.
All right, anybody want to move to accept the minutes? Move to motion?
Yep.
Daniel, second.
Okay.
All those in favor? Aye. Daniel, aye.
Aye.
All right, we're good. I'm sure I followed all the rules there when I did that. I used to know that stuff, and so I have conveniently not found any more room in my brain. This evening, we don't have to.
We don't.
This evening, our agenda has essentially three critical components. First off, we're welcoming Megan Samuto from the town manager's office to talk about cell service issues in West Concord, and specifically issues related to Rideout Park. We're going to review the FY27 budget that Lee has prepared. Some of this will be first time new to some people, so we're going to try and do some education and some highlights at the same time. And
Great.
anybody who wants to dive deeper can always figure out time with Lee to do that. And then we'll just talk a little bit more about our Rideout court project. Not much has changed since we talked last time, but we'll do that. So we'll just quickly, since we have a couple of people here in the public, we'll go around and just introduce ourselves. Phil Griffiths, Chair of the Recreation Commission.
Lee Jackson, Recreation Director.
Maggie Ledoux, Community Engagement Manager. Laura Stearns, Recreation Commissioner.
DJ Piani, Assistant Recreation Director. Miriam Rodriguez, Recreation Commissioner.
Matt Boger, right on time, 6 o'clock. On the commission.
Quorum Buster Boger.
Boom.
And members,
Yeah.
Sarah Sobers.
Oh, sure.
Go ahead.
Megan Zamudo, Deputy Town Manager. See you.
Wendy Rebelli, I'm a select board member and filling in for Mary Hartman, who's not here tonight.
Don Kupka, I'm a finance committee member. I'm here on Virginia.
Great. Thank you all for coming out. Everybody online, we will take a look at you later on.
I want to be respectful of this. I didn't want to do,
Oh,
or
sure.
you could look, my back,
Okay.
you can tell me if I'm balding.
You are.
Oh, hey.
So I asked Megan to join us this evening after learning that the town is considering on its ongoing challenges related to cell phone service and reception throughout Concord, are considering evaluating, not sure what the term is, you want to a possible location of a tower in Rideout Park. I was somewhat surprised. My personal comment, I was somewhat surprised to see that. From a policy perspective, I would have hoped that open space and recreation would be the last places we would consider for putting cell phone towers, but we wanted to hear from Megan about the process that they're going through, how they got here, what they are considering, so that we can then ask questions, offer some guidance, etc. And see if we can help protect the recreation values that we care about and help the town move forward with its challenges with cell phone coverage. So Megan, you've got a few minutes to let us know what you're doing, and then I'm sure we'll have some questions.
Sure, thank you so much. Again, my name is Megan Zamudo, Deputy Town Manager. I'm happy to be here this evening. The first thing I just want to mention is just to mention the language that you use of a cell tower. I think something I'm finding in communicating this topic is that some of the different terminology can make people think of different things that can be kind of shocking. And so one thing that just to mention to start the conversation is one of the areas we were looking at is a potential monopole, not a cell tower in Rideout Park. So I just wanted to correct that for the record. And I think you all received a memo in your packet that kind of summarized some of the work that we're looking to do here in Concord. And it starts out by talking about some of the problem here. I don't think that cell services is that's a top priority for the community, would be a surprise to anyone. It's been a major problem for a number of years across the community. And there have been three main areas that have kind of dips in service across town. One, we're in it in our downtown area. Another one is the Concord Carlisle High School and Route 2 area. And the third is West Concord. And so the select board has highlighted focusing on these three areas as a major goal over the last 3 years. And in the memo, I mentioned some updates on some projects that we have moving forward that I'll highlight briefly here. So, our kind of our strategy has been to focus on municipal properties because that's something we can control. We can control the land. We can work with private vendors to solicit a partnership to bring infrastructure and improve cell service. That's not the case in every community. I think in a lot of places, there are deals with private property owners and they work directly with carriers. And there's a number of reasons for us needing to step in here. And a lot of it has to do with some of the history of siting cell infrastructure in town. We have a lot of materials on our webpage if folks want to dive into the history of the zoning here, the history of efforts to site infrastructure in Concord. And we also just recorded a podcast on Civic Concord. If anyone's checked that one out, we have about,
Who's
Under-
starring?
about 50 listeners, so we can boost that up a little bit if people want to kind of hear this conversation. Anyway, so we have decided to, we're hearing from the community. We had a listening session a couple of years ago in the townhouse, and we heard from, our public safety folks. We heard from parents trying to get in touch with their kids at school, an emergency room doctor, everyone talking. And I hear regularly, we have impact statements about how big of a problem this is across the community and how, frustrated members of the community are and wanting to see this problem solved. So we've identified the three areas and we're chipping away at trying to solve and get some projects under our belt for those three areas. The first one is Concord Center. We did issue a request for proposals for the umbrella, and that was chosen after looking at a number of different sites across the center. We looked at Kai's Road campus. We've had projects trying to move forward at the Walden Street Public Safety Campus. We explored the park right next door to see where infrastructure could go. And the Verizon the umbrella site came up as most attractive for a number of reasons. And so we put out a request for proposals in the cupola at the top of it, and Verizon responded to that and is moving forward to put infrastructure in that cupola. And they spent the summer doing the measurements, trying to figure out exactly how that would take place. And they are just finalizing their construction drawings and hoping to move forward with the permitting phase of that project. So we're hoping that would improve service in the center in the next couple of years for those customers. There's also an effort to improve coverage for AT&T in the center, and that's because the select board has approved a small cell policy, and that is an effort, a technology where you can boost signals that exist. You can kind of amplify it a little bit. It doesn't always work if there's a real gap in coverage, but it can be effective in some cases. And so we have a proposal that came in at the end of June from AT&T. Select board approved that, and they're looking to put some infrastructure on the top of some utility poles in the center. And they're hoping to do that construction in 2026. So they're hopefully in the next couple of years, maybe next year, we'll have improvement in those two carriers in the center. So the Route 2 Concord Carlisle High School area, again, we looked at a number of sites. And this is an area that town meeting actually chimed in on, and there was a citizen's petition to move forward with the tower at the landfill. And this is a tower, like a typical cell phone tower that you would see, and it would hold up to 4 carriers. And so we did a request for proposals and signed a lease with Wireless Edge Towers. And so they'll be putting in a tower at the landfill. They're working on their subleases right now. They're not going to build it if they, don't have relationships with the carriers who are going to be hosted on a tower. But they have found a lot of carriers are interested in co-locating there. So that project's moving forward. And so the third is West Concord. And so last summer, actually, we had our radio frequency consultant evaluate a number of municipal sites that we own at some different kind of height lengths for infrastructure, not looking at, it was a narrow scope, right? He was just trying to look at what areas could we put infrastructure to improve coverage for the whole neighborhood of West Concord, more than the neighborhood, the whole, kind of region. And so we had these other two projects moving forward pretty quickly. And so we did not really act on the June 2024 analysis until we've had some leases signed in the other two areas, and now it's time to turn our attention to West Concord. And so the two areas that scored the highest on the coverage were Harvey Wheeler and Rideout Park. And so we had our wireless consultant come out in August, and we did a tour of Harvey Wheeler, because as we learned in the center, if it's something can be screened, that's attractive, right? If you can put something in a cupola and no one has to look at it, that would be a nice solution. One of the issues that we found is that while the cupola could hold, the equipment, it was a little bit challenging to find an area where sometimes it's called the ground mounted equipment could be located. And it doesn't have to be located on the ground. In fact, in the umbrella project, the equipment is going to be located on the roof in the back of the loading dock. So it has to be accessible somehow, but it can't be inside a locked building that, a staff person can only open if something happens and needs to get in to do some maintenance. So that site over at Harvey Wheeler is fairly tight. The parking is shared between a few different programs. And at first glance, it didn't write it off, but it said, this isn't the easiest path forward. And our directive from the select board is, we really want to find a location that has the best coverage, that's the quickest time to market and the least disruptive for the community. So then we went over to Rideout Park and took a walk through with our RF consultant, and found, this is not the best picture. I was just taking it for my own self. I wasn't thinking it was going to be anything in presentations. I need to get back over there. But that's Ivan on the left. He's our consultant, and looking at some of the the utilities, because we'd need power, we'd need fiber, I believe, and just looking at where access could be. So I know when Phil and I met recently, he asked, have you looked at other areas in the park? No, at this point, no, we didn't. We just kind of looked to see, oh, this place looks okay. It looks like it could be suitable, but this is early days, and we just needed to see, would there be enough here to kind of continue to consider this spot. And on that site visit, we did see that there was enough kind of positives in the column that it could be something to consider. After I visited Rideout, I did communicate with the assistant town manager and recreation director to let them know that this has been looked at. And then I gave an update at a select board meeting, which got picked up by the Bridge, and the article went in the paper. And Phil and I talked about this too. It's sometimes it can be a little bit, in local government, everything we do is public. We want to communicate every step along the way. We don't want to have people say, wait a second, I didn't know about this. So, that's really where we're coming from. We have these goals that we're trying to achieve. We're trying to chip away. I have, questions. Where are we with West Concord? Have we made any progress? And really at this stage, it's really kind of an iterative. We did a report, and then we looked at some of the locations. And so I think that article, and maybe some of the language that the update I gave at the select board meeting was in response to questions. It wasn't an item on the agenda necessarily. It was part of a report.
Yeah.
And so that kind of, led to the next things. But one, I think what probably didn't get communicated in the article, or in my update, to be fair, was, some of the technology and improvements that have come in the last several years with screening infrastructure. And the reason I started off with the term piece is, like, we have to be using the same language so that we're talking about the same things. And this monopole, looks like a flagpole, but it's a little thicker. And so I don't have an image here for you today, but that's what we're talking about as a concept. And we're talking about ground mounted equipment. We're talking, about something that would be tastefully screened in a shed that would be built by a carrier or, a company that would be coming into partner. One of the things that I thought would be attractive about this location is that since there's already a flagpole there, it would be a flagpole, so that, that could kind of blend into the aesthetics of the area. And with these other two sheds here, another shed or taking one shed down and building a different shed could have an opportunity for some potential storage space or equipment for programming in the area. But I do understand that how this park is used and how, pedestrian access and the programming is all something that would have to be, significantly, seriously considered and discussed so that any project would, would not have a negative impact on how people travel throughout the area. So. I also wanted to mention, the agenda topic is, West Concord. And so we in this report, which I think I sent to Phil, I'm happy to send out. It was really just looking basically at the coverage that could result in infrastructure at different locations. And so like I said, we did look at Harvey Wheeler. The consultant looked at Rogers Garden. That location didn't have optimal coverage, upon further review. They looked at a substation we own off Williams Road that had some areas with less than reliable coverage. An area that Phil has brought up to me is a public right of way along Domino Drive. And I know Phil, you asked me a couple questions about it that I didn't get to respond to this week, but this one, we haven't done a full analysis on it, it kind of came up in conversation recently, but some challenges with this are that we don't own the parcels on the road. We do own the right of way, which is a traffic circle in the middle. We would have to, if the utilities are not readily available above ground. And so it would take further analysis to partner with a private property owner likely, if we're looking at putting anything on the parcels that don't belong to us, and then thinking about how to get the utility access that we need in that area. It's certainly not off the list. I think further investigation would be warranted, but I don't have it for today's meeting. We are trying to look at private property too. As I mentioned, that would be great. I would be happy to have someone collect funds from a lease and have a carrier partner inside on a building or in a church or in a cupola or somehow. But there have been some private properties that have kind of gone a little bit into an analysis phase a few years ago that were not picked up for whatever reason. So we're trying to revisit those and see if there's any partnerships that could be mutually beneficial that would improve service. So that is still being looked at. And two other properties that have come up in recent conversations are MCI and the 2229 Main Street Superfund. And so both of those we don't own right now. And so, when we're kind of looking at a matrix of what would make it more attractive or not, site control right now is something we're looking at. Could that be something explored in the future? Absolutely. But I think at this point, it's not something that would be available to us to initiate a project on at this time. And so we are exploring additional options. So I feel like I probably went on a little bit here.
That's great. Thank you.
And I'm happy to answer any questions. I guess I just want to stress that this is a problem across the community. We're looking to, find a solution, and any solution that isn't, talked about with members of the community, is dead on arrival. Like, we want to make sure anything that's really proposed is going to work. And I think that it can be challenging. And we have found some projects that weren't accepted by the community for many years. And now, kind of, at least in the center, there is a real interest in seeing improved service. And so now there's some momentum, I would say. And so we want to improve service in West Concord as well. And we're exploring locations and trying to find something that would benefit the community. So, but I'm happy to hear feedback, collect feedback, hear other suggestions, and answer questions without my technical consultant. So we'll see how far I can go there.
Won't ask you about radio frequency.
You know, I know enough to be dangerous, but
All right, does anybody have any questions for Megan? I have several, but I will defer to other, no, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, so first and foremost, this is a massive issue, so thank you for addressing it
Sure.
and creating an open forum where people can ask questions and kind of brainstorm. So a couple things, so is the umbrella's gonna have one, is it umbrella considered public or private? Cause you're leasing it, so is that a collaboration with a private entity?
great question.
Okay,
The town owns the building.
Yep.
We lease it out to the umbrella.
right,
And we are able to lease out unused space in the building. And so we've been partnering with the umbrella. They've been excellent partners over the last few years we'll have a lease with we have a lease with the umbrella, and we will also have a lease with Verizon
okay.
to use that space. And so we have been all working together to make sure that, you know, our primary tenant is comfortable with this other lease that we're gonna have.
Yeah, so my question for that was like the collaboration with private entities, cause a couple things, just as a rec commission,
Mhm.
a space and honestly aesthetics, I think are important.
Yeah,
Both for enjoyment, so that's why the park is honestly very concerning, and then if you're gonna put another hutch, that's also space utilized that could be recreation in greenery. And one of the great things about West Concord is kind of that urban, it's like city and a town as well, so it's a
Mhm.
really cool thing. So protecting the greenery there, I think, is really important. I just love saying the word cupola, but cupola is a great thing. The Concord Youth Theater, has acquired that great building, and they do have a pretty high cupola.
Mm.
And it's a great community, I think they own it, but like, that could solve a lot of issues, and I guess my question is, it's probably more advantageous for have something high opposed to low. So looking at places that are high and protected could be interesting, and honestly, everything costs money, and to push it towards something that's really Concord centric, I think is not bad. The other place is the Wheelhouse. John Wood does a great job with that. It's a little behind and really in the center of town, collaborating with that would be cool. And then I'm on I do stuff with the library, but there is the Great Fowler there, and they have a smaller cupola. And I don't know if that had been considered as well. I did know that Tri-County was gonna host it for a bit, and then maybe that fell through. I don't know. Again, that's collaboration with a private
we
entity.
were tracking that negotiation.
Yeah.
But it ultimately did not move forward.
Fine. And the other thing, just I deal with medicine every now and then. I am the least smart person in the room, but technology moves so quick, and I would wonder if your expert knows what the technology is. So like you put in something big, and next year there's like this, something like this. It's like, oh, here it is right here. It's like if we only knew what was coming up, and I would never want to stall, because this is a massive problem without a doubt, but making sure we're tracking the technology so we're at the forefront of that opposed to the background of it. I do think aesthetics matter. We want to be safe, but it's also Concord such a great town because they're so deliberate and thoughtful of how things will last and longevity, but also the aesthetics for the population. Recreation, I think that, one of the enjoyment things, we host these wonderful concerts in the summer, and yeah, they're awesome. And a flagpole would be cool. I'm intrigued that you're thinking about flagpoles, because Concord Center, the Rotary, has a great flagpole, and I know why aren't we investigating one there to replace the flagpole in the circular thing?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I think, the screens cupola was, if it wasn't gonna work, then we were gonna throw on additional places to explore.
Yeah,
And I'm kind of picking up this analysis a few years in.
yeah,
But yeah, I think that flagpoles are common. as infrastructure in different communities.
Yeah,
So,
well, thank you also for mentioning that it's not like, where are we gonna, it's the different carriers. I didn't even think, I thought there was gonna be one thing and everyone jumped on it. So you have to have, thank you for mentioning that, because that was just
well,
not.
the thing that's
my
tough
thought.
down here is, one thing I didn't love about the cupola and the umbrella is that it's only big enough to do one carrier.
Oh,
And
interesting.
so,
Yeah.
if you're looking at,
Hmm.
but, how many carriers do we need? Like, it's okay for T-Mobile and Center a little bit with the small cell for AT&T, we're not choosing who's going where, but we are trying to provide an opportunity for carriers. And that's something I didn't really mention in this presentation. In my little spreadsheet here, one of the main things that we need to move any project forward is interest from a carrier. And at this point, I don't have any interest from a carrier in any of these real locations in West Concord. We're trying to talk to them through our consultant and say, these are some sites that are starting to be preliminarily explored. But unless it's on their list, like their market analysis and their radio frequency analysis, then you can put out all the RFPs you want and you won't get a result. So
Where's the ideal place that they've identified? Or do you?
they have really been focused on the center, frankly. At least Verizon has and AT&T.
The center of
Of
West Concord?
No, of over here.
Right.
And so when they're thinking Concord, there's been some fits and starts over the years for moving projects forward, and our reputation hasn't been great. And when they're looking at a site, they've been interested in the umbrella for a decade
Yep.
and wanting to move there. And so, if they have, I wouldn't even be surprised if they wanted to see how far they get that before they start investing in other locations,
Yeah.
So they haven't communicated to us, this is our optimal West Concord location at this point.
And then also, sorry, I don't mean, I tend to chat, I stumble upon where I'm going, but the Baker Avenue has really blossomed. And that's more of kind of like a business type area. And I think does have good traction for both West Concord and the Rotary. And maybe aesthetically wouldn't be as jarring, where there's a lot of, but. I won't say I'm done with my questions, but I want to pass it on to.
Laura, Daniel, please. Laura, did you have anything? Please.
I'm still processing a little bit. I'm very familiar with Ride Out. My kids spend a lot of time there. And I feel like this location in particular is right in the middle of the park. So if it is deemed that Ride Out needs to be the place, I wonder if there's a way that it can be more on the perimeter, like in the back by the baseball field, there's parking lot and a cut through, like that would feel more discreet than.
Because
This is-
because the shed would be a disruption, or yeah, I guess
the
that.
giant pole too. I just feel like this is kind of right in the middle, of where people walk.
But the pole is there now, right? Like the flag pole,
There's a flagpole there now.
right?
There is.
I'm just
Oh,
trying
it's
to-
not in the photo.
Yeah.
No.
There is a
Okay.
flagpole. I mean, this would be a larger flagpole.
Right.
Yeah.
Taller, a little bit wider.
Okay,
Um,
and you'd be replacing that with this?
In concept, that's
Theoretically.
what
Okay.
we're looking at, and I don't mean to, I'm
No,
just
no,
trying
no.
to drill down on like what the real aesthetic concerns are, because I think that's really important to
Yeah.
note down.
I mean, the
Yeah.
basic aesthetics of the flagpole. And the part that got my attention is, again, not knowing the technology and the terminology is
Mhm.
ground equipment. That means generators,
Right.
air conditioning units, and often that is a 15, 20 by 20 foot area with a chain link fence around.
Mhm.
That would be really hard to
Good,
have
yeah.
people support in the center of Whiteout Park. The idea of whether you can put that equipment into a small shed adjacent to another shed is less jarring.
Right,
Let's put
yeah.
it that way. And with some landscaping could maybe work out.
Yeah,
We're sort of buying a pig and poke it. We don't know what that is. We
Mm-hmm.
don't know what it looks like, that would be. If it has to be in that center part of Whiteout Park, that would be my concern, because it's not only people walking through, that pavilion is used for concerts and birthday parties, and people
Yeah.
are there all the time. If you've got a bunch of equipment there and you've got a chain linked fenced area, it's no longer a nice place to
Right.
be sitting. That's,
Yeah.
that I
I
think is the
completely
first,
understand that.
first jarring thing about it that drew my
And
attention.
when we talk about equipment, I can tell you that at the umbrella, they're not putting in a generator. There's not gonna be fans, there's not a chain link fence, it's a discrete, it's on the roof. But I agree with you 100% that an eyesore of, you know, anything that is generated by your imagination or photos of, you know, it's like, that would not work in this premier kind of jewel of a recreation center. When I was talking to the consultant, he thought, you know, a similar screened shed with additional storage might be kind of a win-win, you know, so that's.
But listen, that was a lot less jarring.
Yeah.
than it was.
And then my other question was just, so some of these are still under investigation, these other sites, or have you closed out all of these already?
Well, you know, I think to achieve the goals here, the ones that are not, that I know are not gonna help move the needle, coverage wise, are probably not worth continuing to explore, right? So-
That's your basic question.
Right.
It's gotta, the basic threshold's gotta improve
Right,
cell phone coverage, or there's no point. in
Yeah,
Doing
yeah.
anything more.
So,
but it sounds like the private property one might still be on the table.
if those that can continue to be explored, at the same time.
Okay.
My project, you know, our town project is looking at municipal sites.
Yeah.
To see if we can put out a request for proposals to solicit private interest to improve service is like a town.
I
effort.
see.
But we're also looking at, you know, the planning board is looking at the zoning to see if it can make things more attractive for and interesting for private public, you know, private partnerships. And we're also still trying to connect private property owners with an interest with the carriers. But again, it really has to be on the carrier's list.
Yeah.
To get to the next step and, you know, how they kind of manage their business side of things, is kind of proprietary.
So
So,
we have to get in, on this. Okay.
Yeah, so it just,
We're gonna.
it's,
gonna
it
buy 'em out.
seems to that you've identified what were at least my initial concerns, some of the others, that it's the aesthetics and whether it impacts the ability to use
Yeah.
that part of the park. There are other places in the park that would be far better.
Yeah.
Should there be. You have the added advantage or disadvantage of the fact that I live in West Concord, right near Rideout Park, so I've talked to a lot of people in the last couple of weeks about it, and the question that you're gonna get over and over again, which I think deserves more of an answer, is, well, there's a couple of them. People immediately ask, why aren't they doing this at MCI? And I know you don't own the property now, but the question that's gonna come up is, well, when do you think you might? Because then you're playing off whatever's a potential impact here versus X number of years waiting, or have you even asked the state if they'll let you put one up there? But what does the state do? You can lease property on state property. They do it all the time. There are cell phone towers on state properties everywhere. So have we even asked them? Because that's where everybody immediately jumps.
Sure.
Informed or uninformed, whether it solves the problem or not. That's where every single person I've talked to was going to say, why would you put it there when you've got an abandoned prison down the road?
Mhm.
And I know I'm not up to speed on all the MCI conversations, but you need to answer that question because you're gonna get it asked all the time from everybody in Youngstown.
Yeah, I think it's a solid question. I think if, you know, folks are interested in looking at some of the work that the advisory committee has done, we have a report webpage that kind of talks through some of the concepts for the site and yeah, I don't think not to use a double negative, but I don't think, you know, I think a cell infrastructure down the road there is certainly possibly feasible. I think what we're talking about now is there is a negotiation between the town and the Department of Capital Asset Management and Maintenance, who controls the property around the wastewater treatment plant. And that is, you know, those conversations are continuing, but I wouldn't say we're at a place where we know the boundaries or there hasn't been any kind of further analysis on contamination. You know, that site about like environmental cleanup. Once you start doing construction for any type of project, there's a lot that comes with it. And so it certainly could happen. But I guess the way I would answer that question right now is that you know, it comes to trade-offs, right? And I think what we're trying to do is to move a project forward to improve West Concord cell service, because we're hearing from the community that this is a significant problem right now. And so if we wanted to hold, that is an option. I wouldn't say it's necessarily in alignment with the policy goals of the town that we're trying to follow right now.
Fair enough. It's the question you're gonna get from everybody,
Yeah.
a butter and a user of Ride Out Park. And it would be useful to say that's not realistic for X number of years, or there's cost factor, whatever,
Yeah.
whatever those arguments are. I think
Yeah.
people would want to do that, because then you're comparing impacts on a recreational space versus time and cost and impacts of doing it somewhere else. And that's the real conversation. Otherwise, we're just talking in hypotheticals, and that gets kind of hard because people will imagine
Mm.
a lot of things. So having those specific options identified is always, what the actual trade-offs are between site A, B, and C is a much more healthy conversation than letting our imaginations run wild about what might be.
Maybe not, I won't say Concord, but, I have noticed that some people make decisions without all the information and people jump to conclusions.
Never happen.
I've been intrigued when people
Yeah.
jump in, like, I have no idea, but I feel very strongly about this. But to just, like, we need cell phone, yes, but where would that go and how that would affect you, to be like, great, let's have that conversation. It's all, not saying you, everyone calm down, and let's look at all the research being done.
Mm.
Cause it'd be like, well, if you really want it, what are the trade-offs? If we put this again, no offense, but this structure in a cherished recreation area.
Mhm.
Or if we wait a little longer for a little more time, it's just weighing out those things.
Mhm.
It's hard to get people to see that thing above, like, we want cell towers, great. Why isn't anyone doing anything? People have been working on this for a long time, and there's a balance between what it is, and I know you're caught in the middle of that, which is tough. Not the middle, but.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I think it's totally valid.
Yeah.
And I talked about this the other day with the select board chair, and so we're gonna put this on he will put this on an upcoming agenda to talk about this a little bit more broadly, because I was really happy to be invited here. I'm also gonna go to the West Concord advisory committee early next month and touch base with that group.
Yeah.
And this is I think also having that conversation at the select board level to talk about where we are with West Concord, because as I mentioned before, like some of these other sites have been looked at for a number of years. I mean, the CCHS campus was a potential site that was explored for a while. And in the center, as I said, there's multiple areas. And in West Concord, I don't think we really have that history of different sites that have been decided this is the best site, this is the worst. I think we're earlier. I think we're just kind of earlier in that conversation. And so this is just kind of starting to talk about what could be possible in trying to meet all of our goals.
Well, thank you.
Megan, it's not, I mean, you said it once, but we have the carriers, they have to want to be.
Right.
And we have to do it where they want us to do it too, because otherwise, I mean, it took a long time to even get some our goals set, right? So there was a lot of discussion with the carrier on what's the right location, and it was about their coverage. So I think a lot of discussion. And the
Okay.
select board does want to get it later. So we get it, but that's it.
I just wanted to mention that the state has applied to Concord over a year ago for permission to put solar antenna at their DEP facility that's across the street from the prison. So we don't have to worry about the prisons. It's just across the street. It's already 200 feet high. I sent you the packet in June of 24. And I said, can we piggyback with that? There's a cellular installation an application with and I'm kind of dumbfounded why that hasn't happened and why we would even consider anything else. It's already erected 200-foot tall tower. And the FCC has a guide to cellular safety for the citizens. And it says we don't, make safety opinions, but we reference these 3 studies. As long as you comply with those conditions, you should be fine. And they call for the antennas to be a minimum of 50 feet above people. One study calls for 200 feet above people. It depends on the power of that antenna, but the lowest is 50 feet above people. So think about that. A flagpole would have to be quite tall, like a 5-story building, just to get 50 feet above the ground. But we want to be above the neighboring houses as well. So this is why to your point about the low power, these small cells have been developed because see, a big antenna is like a massive industrial microwave oven, right, without a door. That's what it is. And you don't want to be right in front of it, or, you know, that energy dissipates as it spreads, and as long as you're far enough below it, it's okay. So small cell is a great, I believe, I made the big mistake of having a large cell antenna put in on an office campus in California, where the tenants were complaining about lack of coverage. We had to take it out and put in small cell solution, because it caused problems. So anyway, I would say, first of all, go to the, can we not get on that tower? That's already existing in the Department of Transportation. And then secondly, piggyback off of that, the small cell that is safe and. Thanks. That's what I came to.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad we could provide a forum for, you know, a more general conversation about it with our specific concern about write-up. Very helpful. And we look forward to chatting more in the future. Good to hear from you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Megan.
Thanks very much.
Really stole your pen.
All right, next on our agenda was to look at our FY 27.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
FY 27 budget. Lee is going to walk us through some highlights and. Daniel, I think this is the first time you've been through this exercise, or did you do it last year? Budget exercise.
Might have been, you might have
So-
been brand new last year.
Exactly.
So we
Yeah.
have asked Lee to say.
Thank you so much.
Try and balance
Back, I
two
appreciate
things,
it.
some basic education for Laura and Daniel, who may not have been through this process before. But what I'm particularly interested in are any sort of major significant changes from last year to this year. That's the issues that we may want to dive into, so. Best of luck to that, very
Hey.
precise instruction.
Yes, thank you so much, Phil. Lee Jackson, Recreation Director. Do we have audience members right now or? Nope, okay. Just wanted to make sure.
They're lost.
I know, yeah. So yeah, this is quite an effort. I'll frame it out a little bit. I would like to stay to 25 minutes. I have a 6 million plus budget to share with you. So what I've tried to do is make it just as simple as possible and follow Phil's directives, which is, let's just talk about the significant changes to last year. I will tell you that I'm very open to meet with you individually and go through the entire thing. Any question you have on, you know, that has ever come up for you, my pleasure. But for tonight, I'll do that. And then of course, we'll have questions. And why don't we go ahead and do the questions as we go to the slide? That way we don't have to remember them at the end. Is that fair?
Sounds.
Okay, so this is what I'm gonna review more specifically. I'm gonna introduce our two funds that we have in recreation. I'm gonna discuss our overall financial request. I'm gonna share what the major cost centers are for each budget. And I'm introducing that language now because we'll be using it when we do our financial sustainability model consulting, and you'll be involved in some of that. This language will come up a lot. So basically the cost center is a category within our budget, right? Just in a nutshell. So we're going to go through the major categories for each budget, enterprise and revolving. Then we're going to discuss the significant changes, as I just said. And I had to assume what significant meant. So I'm going to assume it means $10,000 or more of a change from last year. All right. So and then, yeah, Q&A. And then I am going to request a short discussion and vote. So let's try to stay with me rather than move ahead, because then we'll get all discombobulated. So let's go to the next screen. Perfect. So here are our two funds, and bear with me. I'm going to read my notes, but try to be succinct. So I just want to tell you the Recreation Revolving Fund is on the left. The revolving budget supports all programs and services that are produced by staff at this building. So we have programs like sports. We have all of our events that we just mentioned that we host at Rideout Park and other locations across town. Within the revolving fund is summer camp. Very popular, obviously, and carousel, as well as after school, before school, etc. So all of that sits in the revolving fund. The revolving fund relies solely on fees charged to our customers. 100% of the costs associated with those fees, we take them in and they cover the staff. Part-time, full-time, everything, right? So wanted you to know that. So how we set up the budgets for the revolving fund each year is that we're break even. So our expenses need to match our revenue. Right,
Good
and
question,
that's how we
sorry.
plan.
So you're paying the staff, which is fantastic. Healthcare is kind of crazy
All of it.
cost. Do you pay for that or does the
Yes.
town pay for it?
Yes.
You pay for the healthcare?
Yes.
Oh, great. Okay.
So, yeah, thank you for mentioning that, because I was gonna talk later,
And
benefits too.
we pay a fee towards all the other administrative services.
We do a
Town,
transfer called an indirect, which I'll mention here too.
HR, all those kind of things, we pay.
That stuff increases
They pay-
annually a lot, so
Yeah.
good for you, yeah.
Percentage of the time budget. Yeah.
We do it all,
Interesting.
we absorb everything.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's quite remarkable, really proud of it, and it's also obviously a challenge, pluses and minuses.
Yeah.
So the fund itself has approximately $2.1 million in it. As you all know, because I just presented the capital improvement plan to you, which is, CIP. That's what a lot of people refer to it as, the work for the town, CIP, capital improvement projects. As you know, from last week, our $2.1 million in retained earnings is committed to our capital plan for recreation, as you voted last month.
And the critical issue is that's not a balance that we anticipate will grow again. It's sort of-
Significantly, maybe,
Yeah,
it's grow maybe a little bit each year, right? So sometimes we end up making a little more revenue than our budget, but this is our budget is break even, right? In actuality, maybe 200,000, if we're lucky, will go into that retained earnings, so it'll change, like you said, slightly.
Yeah, but we've programmed 2 million to be spent, which puts
Yes.
it way down to
Yes.
essentially
That's why we-
zero with your, maybe you're a couple $100,000 of what's going on.
Exactly,
This is a one-time opportunity to spend that $2 million.
Correct.
We don't anticipate that happening year over year.
certainly true. All right, so it's a little bit about the revolving fund. Now let's go over to the right-hand side, the enterprise fund. I'm just gonna read these, for the sake of any audience members who listen to this. The enterprise, budget supports 100% of the BD operation. All activities. What's different about the revolving and enterprise here is BD actually pays for its building as well, right? The enterprise fund actually pays for roof, walls. So that's different. They rely solely on the fees charged, just like we do here revolving. General fund does not support BD Swim and Fitness Center. I just mentioned that. They pay for everything. The annual budget is also zero balanced. The enterprise fund has approximately 5.1 million in reserve. And that is used for their own capital projects, obviously, which you all voted, last month as well. So let's move on to discuss the overall budget request totals, and then we'll discuss the specific categories and each funds associated. The next slide. Okay, so here in the blue box here, what you see on the left-hand side, I do have extra copies of this, but it's pretty visual. You don't need it probably. The revolving fund, in blue, total expenses to revenue are listed for FY 25 through 27. So that you can see the growth of the budget year to year. I thought that would be interesting to present to you. I have, as you can see, the revolving fund on the left-hand side, just under that's the total revenue and the total expense for the last 3 years. The bolded boxes, I only bolded that in dark blue, for the folks who might be newer to know that those are the only two that I have worked on in terms of planning budgets. That's how long I've been here, are those 2 years. So I don't know much about the previous years, just thought I'd mention that. Let's go to enterprise. The enterprise.
Neither do any of us, so
No, I
you
didn't.
can.
So I just kind of bolded that for you to know. The enterprise fund in the gray boxes there is listed similarly. The difference is the enterprise fund utilizes the interest earned each year on their retained account. So you see that represented as on the far left-hand side at the bottom of the table, you see offset by interest earned. That's the interest earned on the enterprise fund balance. So that 5.1 million generates an interest every year. We put it into the budget to offset the revenue to expense.
Is that like an endowment draw?
Yeah.
Okay, ish, yeah,
Yes.
yeah, okay.
Yes. Okay, so we get the, in case you're wondering, we get that interest estimate each year from finance and accounts payable. And we're doing that, budget planning now, obviously, so we just call them, get an estimate, and that's what we put in the budget. The enterprise fund needs to be voted at town meeting. The revolving fund does not. Interestingly enough, the revolving fund has a bylaw. It's actually, I think it's called the Recreation Commission Revolving Fund. I know I passed that out, perhaps right around when I first got here. I'll go ahead and bring it again, just for, for new folks, if they want to see it. There's a bylaw associated. It does not need to be voted at town meeting. Enterprise fund has to be voted at town meeting, including its capital. And I do present those, to finance committee probably in the next few months or so.
Also right on the wall. On the bulletin board.
Oh, good.
If anyone
The
wants to
bylaws
go
up there on
read
the
it.
bulletin board.
It is right there.
So, quick question, so you don't put the reserve of the revolving fund, there's no interest there.
Right, right.
It's
We
only on
just-
the,
Oh, it
Correct.
is, but it doesn't go back into our budget. It goes in, it just goes to the general funds. It's part of the general.
oh, it goes into general fund. Okay.
We don't, I don't think so, but we can check.
Well, it's not, we don't hold that fund in a separate account, so it's just part of larger town funds.
Okay,
So as I understand it right now, I've looked into this a little bit. We do have interest for enterprise. We do not have for revolving. That's very clear, 100% sure of that.
yeah.
But what I think it is that the revolving fund actually is just open. And it literally just cycles itself. It's just open, meaning I don't have to get it voted because I can pull from it whenever I want. I send in a balanced budget,
Mhm.
but if we, I don't know, if something came up, a bad storm, whatever, if we had to expend more than that, it probably wouldn't be a problem because it truly is like an open fund.
Okay,
And so the balance we have in that 2.1, that's it.
okay,
It's not more.
Okay.
Right? So the only way we can add to that is if we make more revenue than the budget suggestion.
okay.
That's it. So I hope that makes sense. Yeah, so let's move on to the, we're gonna go over the revolving fund first in specifics. We'll discuss the major categories. And then we'll go into the cost centers afterwards. Inside. Okay, now this one you might not be able to read. So I did bring copies. I have 7 of these or 10 of these.
Yeah.
Does everybody have them? Do you want one? Oh, you got them too. Thank you, Maggie. Look at Maggie go. Okay, so I don't have to hand those out. We're gonna look at the revolving fund revenue on the left, at the left table. And the expenses are gonna be on the right table. So as you see at the top of the blue bars. Left-hand table is revenue, right-hand table is expenses. Now, if you follow along the left-hand side, you'll see our major categories for the revolving fund, which I'm calling cost centers. So we can start using that terminology. The cost centers are on the left-hand side for revenue. And the cost centers are on the left-hand side of the enterprise as well. So for revenue, we have miscellaneous revenue. We have White Pond that generates revenue for the revolving fund, recreation programs, summer camp, school year revenue that I've highlighted, and I'll talk to you about that in a second. The sports programs, of course, generate revenue for us, and you can see all the details about where we are from 25, 26, and 27 there with revenue with all of these areas. Special events, obviously, we don't charge for a lot of special events, so we don't anticipate revenue there. So it's not low or anything. It's just what it is. We charge for some. And then we have rentals. We rent the fields to different people and different groups who like to use the fields. We don't generate much revenue from it. Schools use all of our fields for free. And that does mean every school in town, so not just public schools, right? Is Concord, the Concord Academy, is that a public school?
Private.
Right, so it is private and public schools. I just wanted to make sure I checked in on that first. So as you can see, I wanted to highlight to go through at least one of these with you. So I want to highlight the school year example. I want to highlight it because each category is not expected to break even at 100%. So I think that's a good piece of information for you to know, is that when we set up the revolving fund budget, some categories actually carry other categories, right? So I wanted to show you an example of that. So there's the school year example is highlighted for you to see that, in fact. And the school year inside of that cost center is the carousel program, as well as the after school program. So you'll see that this school year category here is the largest generator of revenue for the revolving fund. Over $1 million, it's almost $1.5 million, right? But guess how much the expenses are? FY 27, for instance, we budget 574,000. So we have 140% cost recovery in our carousel program and after school program. So this is in fact the foundational category of our fund. So it's really important that we pay attention to the carousel program and the after-school program. I would suggest that if something happened to that fund, our revolving fund could collapse on itself. If we didn't have something to put in its place. Do you understand what I'm saying? Just
Yeah.
because of that.
Is
Yeah.
there, so capacity at the after-school programs is very challenging, like. So I
Wait
got
list,
one of
wait
my
list, wait
kids
list,
in
yeah.
15 seconds and 15 seconds later it was full
Gone, yeah.
for the second kid. So then I took both kids out because I can't send one and not the
Yes.
other. So is there, given this surplus, is there potential to add more staff and,
Yes, I would say in general, the answer would be yes.
yeah,
I don't know about the after school. We are limited more from the schools, the elementary schools, but certainly for carousel. It looks like DJ has something to say about this.
We
but
are.
let's-
We are licensed for more. It's in all communities around us. We've done a lot of market analysis with this.
Yeah.
Staffing is the biggest issue.
Hmm.
It's not.
I was
that-
just gonna say that, but yeah.
That's,
So
that's
staffing
our
is a
hold
problem.
up right there.
Meaning we can't find the people.
Right, teachers.
The hours are very difficult. The position itself is difficult to fill with the, 3 to 6 basically is the schedule for 4
3
days,
PM,
3 PM, 6
PM.
yeah.
and then 12 to 6 on Wednesday, so it's a very hard position to fill. We've looked around at other communities and how they're doing it, and a lot of them are not licensed the way we are, so our licensing is it's something that we follow, obviously, so we have to be within ratios and.
What's the I don't understand the license.
I'm gonna talk about that in a second, if you don't mind. I'm gonna, yeah, I'll get back. I'll
It's
talk
really
about
just a
licensing a little
staffing thing
bit.
that
Yeah.
Because
every hire
they
year
got
round.
changes.
Yeah,
We're continuously trying to hire throughout the year,
yeah.
and yeah, it's just a very difficult.
I have one, but just before we move in, so you've got the school year activities, carousel and after school programs, bring in.
And
significant-
before,
Bring in significantly more income than they cost. What the only one I can see that's the reverse is your non-operating costs, right? That's the one, or is that the same as miscellaneous? I don't quite follow it.
oh, the non-operating, you want to
So-
answer that one?
I'm
Yeah.
just trying to figure out what's on the opposite. So
Events.
effectively, it subsidizes a bunch of things.
It
What
does.
does it subsidize?
It's subsidizing anything that's not making its goal. So like special events, for instance. Special events cost us more than we project to bring in revenue. DJ, you wanted to say something, it looked like,
No, that's
when
it.
you was, what is the non-operating? Can you answer that real quick?
Non-operating expenses are all salaries, expenses for the building,
Okay,
supplies, anything that is administrative.
That's
does
the
not-
biggest cost.
that is,
center. Most of that-
right, that's salaries,
So
yeah.
all the income that comes in subsidize the staff that manage everything and all of them. So the biggest piece of it coming from
Including-
carousel is those things.
And-
Okay.
I'm a little confused with the miscellaneous. The
Okay.
numbers are a little all over the
Yep,
place.
Yes.
so previously the miscellaneous revenue was from, our sponsor to our brochure who he's on the back page of everything, so he paid $400.
It doesn't really matter.
But
DJ.
that's what the 893, our projected going forward is for our sponsorships,
So we have a new sponsorship plan, so we hope to bring in 1,200 on that for Rev this year.
that's
We
it.
just didn't have it last year, that's all.
We didn't have it, okay.
Yeah. So you'll see some of that too, if I were to bring you in and show you the extensive
And
budget, you will see that sometimes we code things differently year to year and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah,
But that's one of the examples where we just changed it a little each year. Okay, next slide. Okay, so now we're gonna get into significant changes the last year, $10,000 or more. And I'm gonna start with revenue. We don't have many significant changes in revenue on the revolving side, so I don't have a lot to talk about here. The 4 categories that we do plan on seeing an increase or decrease are listed on here for you. White Pond passes, recreation program fees, school program fees, and sport clinic fees. Now I'll run through very quickly and then I'll move to the next slide. I think these are the ones that I can probably move through a little quicker. White Pond has a planned increase because we plan to come to you before FY 27 starts, which by the way is July 1st, 2026. Okay, so before July 1st, I need to come to you, and I need to request a fee increase, a rate increase for memberships. All right, we're not gonna touch the drop-in rate. but we do want to address the membership fee at White Pond and potentially increase it, which is why I had to put it in budget that way. The plan is right now to bring to you the idea that the individual rate would increase for a person to go to White Pond would, instead of $100, it would go to $115. That's what we're talking about. And that would help us cover the cost of that particular location and its particular staff. We've had to do some increasing. We're also putting in the shed there. We're adding more staff for parking. Do you remember those kinds of conversations we've had? So, and we're adding cable so we can do, take money remotely at the shed, that kind of stuff. It's gonna cover that, okay? So
Is
that's,
there a limit amount of memberships that we sell out in the membership?
there is not.
There's not, okay.
There is not,
Okay.
and we haven't run up against a problem yet, but I've asked the same question when I started. Recreation programs, is the area, it's before and after school and vacation programs, just so you know, so we expect a slight change there. The sport clinic ones, again, $17,000 down to last year in this case. But that's one of the,
The recreation program fee, that's the one that's actually got a large jump. That's I can't do the math in my head,
Yeah.
but you're talking about 140.
He does it all the time.
30%,
Yeah, so that-
40% increase.
That also deals with our vendors, so we have to also work with their pricing changes throughout the year.
Okay.
We're also looking at expanding a lot of before school programming and after school programming using this building. Working with extra programming and increased vendor fees, we expect a jump.
Which vendors, which kind of programs?
So that is like Build Wave, Legos, Chess Wizards, before school sports at Alcott. Any of our enrichment type of programs that we run after school. Along with music, and our biggest one in that is musical theater is roughly between 150 and 200,000.
So I think not now, but maybe
Sure.
for next time when you go through, what would interest me is I get vendors change their prices, you have to adjust. If we're adding new programs, that'd be just really useful to know what they are, what kind of new program offerings we're doing that are coming in, that are getting funded out of here would be good to know. People
Great.
ask us, what are your programs?
Bring them back
New
to
ones
you.
you do, that would be useful.
I'll bring them back to you. I don't even know if we've decided them on yet. But when we do, you will know. So we went to the next slide. So the next slide is, revolving fund expense changes. So I'll try to go through these. Three large, category areas, regular full-time on the left there, you can see limited status and our other professional and technical services. So regular full-time, I've added one new position to the budget here in the revolving fund. As we just talked about carousel, I would like to, reinvest in carousel. I really want to reinvest. Carousel is a licensed program. It's licensed by the state. There are a ton of requirements for that licensure. I'm really proud of that licensure. It assures that the quality is very high. We're going to keep it high. We're going to reinvest in some of, obviously, their supplies. I think they need an assistant director. So right now we only have a director. So I added an assistant director. I'm reading my notes. Oh, and just so you all know, Carousel has been 51 years. Did you know that? I didn't know it was that long, so I looked it up. 51 years in place in Concord. So very impressive. Over time, the director and the teachers have worked seamlessly to create an extremely high quality childcare program that requires a great deal of administrative work as well as oversight in the classroom. It is in our revolving fund. It is our foundational program because it has the highest return on investment, as you just saw. It's not only the highest return financially, I think for families it is as well. Incredible community of parents and children and teachers and directors. And I think it's time we reshift focus there and reinvest there. For the last 5 years or so, finding teachers is growing increasingly difficult and increasingly time consuming. I want to set up a structure so that we have a continuance of operations. If the director is out of office for any reason, we need an assistant director to pop in. We also have teachers that are out sick a lot, right? As you can imagine, probably in your jobs and stuff, you're seeing the same. We would use that assistant director to help in the classroom to backfill, because that's been another one of the problems we've had.
What'd you do previously? Did you get a sub or something? Or
I will tell you that, yes, subbing. So in Brookline, this was a problem too. I ran a similar preschool program in Brookline, subbing, and it's really difficult, very, very difficult, because you don't have enough teachers to sub. And then you get people stressed out like me and DJ and everyone else in this building, and then the people who are licensed here can go run to over, it's not efficient, it's not acceptable to me, it's too much. So we need a balance.
We
of
have a
it.
float right now who would fill in, but that takes away their ability to get to
Yeah.
all the different classes.
If anybody wants to get into the details, I think I could speak for all of us. You have a consensus that continuing to run that program, the services provided and
Yeah,
affordability is a priority for all of us, so.
So,
100%. Just one quick comment on that.
Yes.
We met someone who just moved from town and she was blown away by Carousel sending her kids, but she had a comment about the security, just the fact that the doors are open and you can just walk
interesting.
in. So I don't know if that's been raised.
I will
but-
address that. Can we
Yeah,
step
oh,
out
yeah,
afterwards?
certainly.
So we shouldn't have that issue.
Okay.
I'm just gonna say that publicly. We should not have that issue and I'll address it. So
Okay.
maybe we can talk more about
Certainly.
it.
Is that Ripley? Where is this?
No,
It's
probably
never
really.
really-
Excuse me, yes, okay, yeah,
Mhm.
sorry, yep,
Next slide.
gotcha.
Oh, let me just read my notes here. Oh, I did want to share on, I just was looking at my notes. Since you do something. I do want to share something important for you all to know, and you're gonna hear about it later too. Our current director at Carousel has been working for recreation since 1979. Okay, 1979. Anita Hill, she's planning to retire sometime in FY 26. After 25 years of full-time work, the rest was part-time. 49 years of part-time work in Concord at Concord Recreation. Holy cow, right? I think I need to throw a party.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
you will be invited to the
Great,
retirement party. She'll be retiring. So I wanted to mention that. Actually, her husband retired today. He works for CPW and he's their business manager.
Oh, wow.
So she's just a fantastic lady. I should have already brought her in. You need to know who she is.
Thank
They'll
you for
be-
that metric.
They'll be very
Appreciate
excited.
people who've been there for,
I know.
that's amazing.
So I just wanted to make sure I said it out
Yeah,
loud.
no, thanks.
Okay, and then, oh, I'm sorry, can you go back to the last slide? There was a couple things I wanted to say about the limited staff. I'll just say real quick. We're adding a few more part-time staff, been added to the revolving fund, a part-time custodian, again, to backfill for our custodian when he's out. And to learn the skills. So when he retires, we have someone, we've also put someone at the front desk 5 days a week. $10,000, we're hiring it, or we're hiring counsel for $20,000 this year, actually, for our, financial sustainability model that I mentioned earlier. You're gonna be part of that project. We're actually hoping to put out the RFP this month. Next year, we're not gonna do that. That's why it went down by $10,000. Next slide is the revolving fund expense changes. Very well. We have a few more. So on the left-hand side are the major categories. Non-recreational services is a new line item to track our financial aid. We decreased it by $20,000 from last year just to be closer to actuals that we gave out. The rec programs and other technical services is that second category there. We plan for an increase of approximately $35,000 in that area. And as I stated earlier, we plan to invest more in carousel, before school, after school, and vacation programs. We plan to move more vendors and more programs do more programs for the preschool. We plan to host more programs at Hunt. And again, we want to raise the bar and ensure that these programs are the very best quality they can be. The next one you'll see is summer camp, temporary status. We've added additional part-time staff and the salaries associated for all that are in there. We do 2% increase a year in terms of salaries. Summer camp, other technical services is roughly a $10,000 difference. A couple more vendors are being added. Prices are increasing year to year for those vendors. We have 2 more expense changes to show you before moving on to BD Swim and Fitness Enterprise Fund. Next slide. So on this slide, you'll see that school year temporary status, those again are staff salaries increasing by 2%. That's what we do across the board. So there are significant changes to last year for that reason. And then for sports limited status, we have a change that I didn't write notes on. DJ, do you want to remember what the?
Sports limited status.
Yeah.
Our basketball coaches,
There you
tennis program, pickleball program.
Oh, yeah. Okay, very well. I have a fun transitional slide for us. Okay,
We pay our basketball coaches?
Not the basketball league, so our basketball clinics that we run in the fall.
Oh,
And then on our Sundays, we have 2 staff or 3 staff that kind of run the league on Sundays for the
Okay.
K through 2 age group, K through 3.
Moment of transition. That was the revolving fund. The revolving fund is done. That's kind of our budget for the revolving. And then I thought we'd throw up a fun picture. The picture on the right side there is taken today. All of us in our new raincoats for events. We haven't had raincoats before and we just go outside and do events and just get soaking wet. So that's fun. So I wanted to add that. And that was from last year because y'all are some of the.
Very
commissioners
serious meeting.
Were, yeah,
But-
fun. Okay, next slide. Okay, now we're moving to enterprise. I might go through this a little quicker. Hit me if you want me to, or give me a nudge. I have, a copy of this to hand out, but I think it looks pretty good on the screen, so I'm gonna move forward. This slide covers the larger categories and cost centers for the enterprise fund. You can see the cost center on the left-hand side, just like we did for the other ones, and the associated revenue that it's brought in the enterprise fund from FY 25 through FY 27. Swim initiation fees are joining fees, so you know. The BD yearly membership fees are people who make a full annual membership payment. So they pay for their annual membership up front.
Do they get a reduction if they do that?
No,
No. Okay.
no. The monthly membership fees that you see on the left there are monthly people who pay just by the month, right? So it's reoccurring by the month. Rentals that you see on the left there, that's revenue from pool rentals. It's really flat to last year. We don't expect a lot more. There's not a lot of space available.
So in the yearly membership
Yeah.
membership fees, there is an increase of 40%. Right?
Yeah, they expect more. Oh, so what they're seeing as as kind of a cultural shift.
Okay.
They used to have people pay a lot more, I don't know, how did Kathy explain it? Do you recall? Let me look at the numbers again. I didn't want to put that on you, I'm sorry. Oh, I understand. Okay, so the way that it's presented is that the way that people have paid for their membership has been changing year to year.
Okay.
And so when I just mentioned Kathy, let me just speak to that. She helps manage the memberships at the BDSM and Fitness Center under Jenny, under the general manager. And what she was sharing with me is she's definitely seen a change over time where people used to, and when BD opened, people used to just do the annual payment. And now what she's saying is a lot of, probably since COVID, I think she explained, people are now just paying monthly. And so I think that's the change that you see. And then the yearly membership fees, I think they're just expecting more.
More people.
Yeah, I think they're just expecting more. Obviously I worked with Jenny on this budget, to come up with these figures.
40% is a good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good.
40%. I'll let DJ do the math on that. Okay, I'll keep going. Miscellaneous revenue, I think is where we left off, and that's guest fees. They also expect more guests. That's what I thought you were getting at. So there's membership fees, but guests are allowed to come into BD Center and drop in, and they're definitely seeing a change there too. We expect more guests to come in.
How much is a guest to go for the day?
I don't have that.
20,
$20.
20 or 25.
Yeah,
20.
20 to 30 minutes. Yeah.
I don't have them in my head, but yeah, a lot more of that's going on, which is great. It's great for us, and we're gonna encourage that too. Further down, you see the SFC, swim program fees. So the first one you see is for swim lessons. We expect that to remain relatively flat to last year. We are not gonna teach, we decided not to teach swim lessons at White Pond and at Emerson. Unless, of course, there's a big change and we have a surge of guards that come in and we can just offer whatever we want, we'll do that. But the plan is right now conservative.
Okay.
Fitness program fees, that's land and water fitness. So now that you have seen our largest cost centers, let's move to the expense cost centers for enterprise. And so these are the, remember, significant changes that I'm bringing to you. So these are our major categories of expenses in the enterprise fund, budgets against last year. So these are expenses. Other charges on here is a little vague, but what it means is a lot of different things go in there. Okay, so I want to tell you what the other charges is, as you see that category. We put in the transfer to the general fund. All right, so that's the indirect that we were talking about earlier, that came up, meaning we have to pay the general fund back for certain things like our use of the human resources department, our use of the finance department, accounts payable department, etc. So there's actually a formula that the general fund uses to get the return back. on that. They do refer to it as quote unquote the indirect charge. So that goes into, the category as well of the charges. So do dues and memberships, travel to conferences, conference registration, our property insurance, all that goes in there. So it's just a vague term. I wanted to describe that to you. So now we're gonna break it down and talk a little bit about
So
specific.
supplies is what?
Our supplies are
We can-
cost center, it's just a general cost center, everything. Everything that we supply, so everything from the phone, summies, right, to the, any weights.
Does that
To
include
board,
like
some
keeping
boards.
the pool clean?
Chemicals is
Okay.
maybe different. I'd have to look it up. I have it right under my desk. Do you want me to?
No, well, we're good.
Okay.
Keep on going though.
But yeah, all the supplies. I do think you might be right.
I think it's kind of.
I do. I think it's chemicals too. I can verify
would
that
make
later.
sense,
Yeah, it does make
It's a little
sense.
hot.
Yeah.
Cause it's a
I-
major cost center
yeah.
for us.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Next slide.
And I'm sorry, the capital outlay decrease, okay, you mentioned it's
Yeah, the other.
upfront cost and next year, 2027, it decreases from that. So. The bottom one,
Yeah, the
Yeah.
capital outlay.
yeah,
So, I can talk about that. So
okay,
last meeting, you voted on the capital expenses for the BD Center, right? So sometimes when we put together our budget, we can cover some of our capital within our budget. That's capital outlay. So for this one, the 70,000, I have to look at my budget, but it might be two things combined and it might be the UV for the warm pool. Actually, it is. It's the UV for the warm pool that we're doing. So we put that one in our capital outlay because we can afford to pay for that. The rest of them, we're using the retained earnings.
and that's in 26. That's why it's. so-
Yes.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Oh, the roof? The 26, I think, was the structure, the wall structure and the, part of the roof, maybe. That's why it was bigger. So we were able to do that. So yeah, sometimes we have some in capital outlay, most of the time it's in retained. So let's go to the next slide. We are at yearly membership fees for significant changes. Significant changes to last year, are on this slide for revenue. Yearly membership fees. We expect a slight increase in the number of people paying for annual memberships all at once. The miscellaneous revenue is budgeted at an increase of 40,000 from last year because we expect more guests, as I shared earlier. The fitness program fees, our personal training revenue is projected to be down. We haven't seen a real increase in our fitness revenue over the past year. We'll continue to watch and drive this through marketing and promotion, obviously, but that's where that is. Next slide. So regular full-time, limited status and water user charges. Regular full-time, we added a new full-time position over the beauty center in FY 27 to support the operation of the Beauty Swim and Fitness Center. We have a couple problems going on over there that this will help us out with. We're gonna hire this person, cross-train them and have them support several different areas. We need a continuance of operation there, because as you can imagine, if we close pools because we don't have enough staff, that's just not gonna work out for the public. So we don't currently have that. So we are going to hire a person and train them to do several different areas. We have most problems at the front desk right now. 5:30 start time is really hard to fill. So this
Like
person
that.
will be interviewed. That is a seat they might have to fill. Obviously, we have lifeguard challenges. We also need.
We'll do it in a rotating basis.
Yeah, 5:30. See you there. So this problem, this will help us solve some of our issues over there. Limited status, we have, the part-time employees of the front desk are there. We have difficulty filling the front desk, as I just said. We did just raise the rate, of the salary for that position. It's part-time. We have 7 people up there and we just moved it up to $21 an hour. So that, obviously impacts the expense changes as well.
From what? 21 to what? From what?
No, it's varied for different positions. Some people do the check-in at the front desk, other people do the back end. So it was just different. Now, we knew we needed to raise it because we're just not getting any fixed. And it's really important for the facility. We did add under limited status, we added another part-time staff to support the parking lot surveillance, and White Pond. Obviously, we're adding that hut. We're gonna need additional staff there in the parking. The water user charges, it's up to last year by $18,000. This is the actual cost we have here, planned conservatively, the water usage. We used FY 25's number. So we just planned it conservatively, that's all. Next slide. I'm gonna try to get through this. I think I have two more I might skip. Do you want me to skip the next two?
Yeah.
Let me skip the next two. It's nothing major that I need to discuss. Let's skip the next few slides and go to slide 18. You might want to hear about this one. This is the investment income on the endowment interest. You can see that over time. It's just different. I just thought I'd mention that's a big one in the capital improvement operating budget, as I just stated, has changed a little bit over time, but I've already expressed that. So next slide. So this slide is the FY 27 enterprise fund total revenue to expense. This is the summation slide, basically, and I think I showed this at the beginning as well. But I wanted you to be able to ask any questions you have. The total revenue we have has increased year over year for the last 3 years. The percent increase is really insignificant over last year. The revenue is balanced against total expenses as we went over. The expenses are budgeted to be a slight decrease, FY 26 to 27, and they remain relatively flat. So nothing big there. The offsets, as you know, are the interest earned at BD. We also have the opportunity, I'll just share that, to apply for the Sawyer Trust, which I can talk about at some other time. But we've used that in the past for our UV. It's a sustainability.
So that's that state or federal
It's under the trustees of,
reservation.
I know I want to say that because TTOR, I used to work with them a lot, but it's not. It's our trust. There's a committee here that manages the trust committee in the town of Concord that
So-
manages a lot of 40 or so.
So I would,
Trustees of town donations.
Trustees of town donations, thank you. Yes, I met with them today. You'd be so happy. I met with them today. I learned a lot.
so
Yeah.
that's a lot of information. Does anybody have any high level questions about this? I would encourage, we have, over the past 2 years, when Lee came on, we had 2 budget things that we said. One was work out the indirect payments with the general fund and sort all that out. And let's figure out what we're gonna do with that excess retained revenue in the enterprise fund. In the revolving fund.
Spend it down, basically.
Yeah, that was sort of the marching orders that we got from the town manager and an appropriate thing to do. So we've identified a couple of high priority capital investments to spend down that small balance in the revolving fund. Long term, that's not the way you fund capital investments in recreation. These are small potatoes that we're able to pick up. But that was the direction that we gave Lee, was to work with the town manager and finance to figure that out. Sort out the enterprise, the back and forth indirect card charges, and sort out that with Public Works in terms of all the work.
Yeah,
that
well,
they
there's
do.
a transfer to CPW that's separate, and we did work that out at the.
So we've done-
My tenure.
I've done a couple of, over the last 2 years, a lot of work to get to this stage where we're essentially at the zero balance that's gonna come through, and that's, it's gonna be fun to work on that. Future financial security project or
Yeah,
whatever
the
as we can.
financial
To
sustainability.
start thinking about other things, and I encourage anybody who wants to get in and fully more understand like what subsidizes what and how we do that kind of thing. If we wanted to get into that, we can as commissioners. It's sort of the challenge that we put Lee in the start is. It's got a balance and you gotta resolve these 2 big structural problems of
Yeah.
indirect charges and a balance in the enterprise fund. So congratulations on getting to where you've gotten here. So it's been a lot of work. We
Thank
appreciate it.
you. We'll keep doing it. Can we?
Yes, I mean, unless anybody has questions, anybody has any questions about this?
My only question is, so we vote on it, what does it, do you guys look over this? Well, with this, the whole budget thing, so we don't have we're not approved.
Revolving you are.
We
That's
are.
why I'm asked for a discussion and vote, because I'd really like one. The revolving account, as I said, the bylaw is named the Recreation Commission Revolving Fund. I would like a vote on that. The enterprise fund, you probably don't have to vote on, but I'd also like a vote on that. And the reason is because my next step after I present to you and get your support is to then go to Carrie, the town manager, and present to her.
Sure.
And of course, I hope her first question is, well, what does the Recreation Commission think about this budget?
Gotcha.
So I want to be able to say, unanimous support, one person didn't support, like, I want to be able
Yeah.
to tell her directly what. the
And
support
in
is.
future years, sort of going forward, the way I would like to see this conversation happen is those things that you want to do differently, like. I need to hire extra staff at the carousel center, I need to, we're gonna expand our morning programs. We have those discussions
before the budget gets developed, so we can say, yep, that's the direction we're gonna go, and then this budget conversation simply becomes, you're reflecting what we asked, what we said were the priorities
Perfect.
that we wanted to do. It's been hard to get to that point with all the things that are going around, moving forward onto that sort of next year's budget. Those big changes, anything you need to do, why are you doing them, what do we get out of it, how's that gonna work? That's the conversation that we can give you some guidance and assistance on.
We
I'm
did
not
over the
questioning,
summer.
not, don't think of that as us questioning anything that's gone here, I think you've got the priorities fine. Just that's where we could probably have some more, hey, what about this, try this, do this kind of stuff.
Yes,
Um,
great.
Otherwise. I think, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Accept the motion to approve whatever it is we're allowed to approve formally with regards to the budget.
The presentation,
Yeah.
the revolving, we can put totals in there.
There, motion move. Second,
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
That's a vote, revolving at 3,362,312. And then,
Sorry. I need-
the enterprise is 2942, 2,942,000.
And thank Jenny for all her hard work on the meeting budget as well. That's been a lot.
I will do. Thank you for your support. I really appreciate it.
We had two other things, quickly that we wanted to do on the project. You should all take one of these flyers. These are just so everybody knows, these are the ones that I shall be handing out to all the neighbors of Ride Out Park.
No, like,
Just because I want to make, no, I'm happy to, I walk
Okay.
by there every day with my dog. I'm gonna stick one in every mailbox.
Okay,
We're gonna put posters up at Ride Out, so tennis players and other folks who. I've encouraged a lot of people to come. I think it's gonna be a good conversation. There will be a lot of opinions about it. Just to recap, and for those who didn't hear it last year, we're gonna go out and ask the public to comment on when these courts are resurfaced. It'll happen next summer. It's probably a 2 to 3 month process because of the time it takes for concrete to cure and dry and paint. So it'll be a stretch of 2 to 3 months. When it's done, those courts are resurfaced, we can repurpose them, and we're gonna ask the public, should we put those tennis courts back exactly the same as they are now? 3 tennis courts with lines for pickleball and temporary pickleball nets coming and going as needed. Should we take all of it and make 8 pickleball courts, so we have a pickleball center, or should we do some kind of hybrid, which is 6 pickleball courts and one tennis court? The most interesting, we just had the conversation with the consultants about how much you can actually fit in there. An important distinction is that you can fit 6 pickleball courts and 1 tennis courts at what is called by the industry sort of the recreational standard. There's enough room between the courts, et cetera. If you were building the competition center where you wanted the, international pickleball world championships to come, you would probably have 2 pickleball courts in that entire place, but it meets the recreational court standard in terms of distance between the courts and sizing, that sort of thing. We'll make that clear at the public meeting. People can comment on that should they like to, but it's recreational use that's going on there. We're not trying to build, another US Open site down there right up. Public meeting, it'll be Daniel and I will officially be the hosts as a subcommittee, and then we will process all the information and come back to the commission with a recommendation from what we heard. Consultants will be there to answer technical questions, and we hope we get a lively discussion. I'm sure it will be. Should be very interesting. Yeah, sure.
Some of the feedback I've heard, the concrete option, I forget what it's called, high tension.
Post-tension concrete.
There's something about different physical impacts of concrete versus asphalt, just be prepared to have some of that.
okay.
It's a similar question about turf fields and grass, So we've asked the consultant to be prepared, Dan, we've asked the consultant, he's gonna get answered that.
Yeah.
Oh, we're gonna ask about recycling, all the materials that come out, was we notice that?
All of that.
We're likely to get, so those two, yeah, exactly. So we've asked him to sort of have answers for those questions for us. Anybody got any other questions on that? Right, this is now where we go around to ask if any of our liaisons have any specific things they want to let us know. Wendy/Mary?
I have nothing, I gotta go to see. Thank you.
We have a member of the finance committee here, but he's not our liaison, so I don't know.
I don't think there's anything that, the finance committee is working on the guidelines for the general fund budgets. We're looking forward to, This is fantastic, by the way. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
This was
Thank
great
you.
to see.
Good.
Thank you.
By the way, we are both on the financial policy work group that's looking at revolving funds and enterprise funds and other financial policies, so.
Yay, okay, thank you,
Comments are noted.
thank you.
Thank you. I don't know, we don't need to talk about any strategic plan initiatives, CPC, Matt, anything?
We're going through them right now, and actually that little comment, because I'm the one who's starting the questions on our application and the different material that we're gonna use.
So we're on the calendar for the 20, I think I'm on the calendar for the CPC on the 21st, 28th, something like that, to do it, people ask questions for us.
So I'm gonna be really hard on you then.
I'll be there too.
Yeah,
It's gonna be hard on me too.
Land use working group, that's you again as well. You've been able to attend or participate in anything? there?
Yeah, it's very informative, been able to look at a lot of different properties. We're actually looking at the police and fire, but yeah, it's been very interesting.
Okay, right up, court, nothing new to report, I don't think on Mazie O'Donnell, we'll ask
I
our,
can say something there.
Oh, yeah.
it was, but I know it was up at the select board recently, but.
I'll just say that we were at the select board meeting on, Monday night, myself, Jess, and Jenny were there to support the family, and it went really well.
Good.
And they moved the concept forward.
Oh, good.
Do they have the funds or they're in the process of, they have the funds?
I mean, they have most of the funds,
Yeah.
they don't think they're gonna have any problem securing the funds and enough for an endowment,
Okay,
Yeah.
the
great.
equipment.
During the presentation, they said that as soon as it's approved by the town, they were pretty sure they were gonna get.
Exactly.
all.
Amazing.
Yeah,
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 amazing.
that was a.
people were just waiting to.
To make sure that
Yeah.
the town was gonna accept it,
Exactly,
yeah.
that was there, that's what they said, yeah.
And Sandy Smith was there too?
Yeah,
Yeah, great, good.
Nothing new to report on Giroux or community partner invitations. We'll do some of those again. Community partner invitations, that's when we decided as a commission, it'd be useful to invite in people with whom we have various partnerships that we want to hear more from. Friends of the Fields, the youth sports, people who use the river.
NRC.
The NRC, people who we interact with all the time that we want to hear just
That's a
what
good
they're
idea.
thinking, what we're thinking. We started off strong, now we've lost steam on a bit, we'll pick it up again, I think.
Yeah.
My schedule is crazy, but did we do that? Was the official naming happen or did that not? Of Giroux Park?
No, there's been no official opening,
Okay.
and I think that's what you're referring to,
Yeah.
because we were gonna do a ribbon cutting.
Exactly,
ceremony,
but that
et
didn't
cetera.
happen.
No, I
Okay.
think that the select board is still considering that.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah,
good,
they want to do it.
thanks.
Is that right, Jess?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
All right, other new business?
One thing, can I just drop it in your ear for next time? If you allow me to, I might put it on the agenda. You can tell me whether yes or no. I'm considering surveillance cameras inside Beatty, because we've had some
Yeah.
robberies lately.
Oh,
I'm bringing that up as that's new business for me. I may be bringing that to you for your opinion as I get some more information maybe next month.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be in the
Unfortunate.
plan.
Not in the back.
I don't know what the, yeah, oh, yeah, sure, okay.
That's unfortunate, yeah,
Yeah,
not happy to hear
more
that.
than once. more
Not
than
a
once.
terrible idea, though.
Yes.
Mhm.
Anybody left from the public, anybody online?
Okay.
Thank you all very much.
Good.